Welcome to The Forum, your modern-day coffee house, where ideas can be birthed, exchanged, and wrestled with. We celebrate questions, conversation, and reason as powerful tools to enlighten hearts and transform minds, shaping a new generation of thinkers, innovators, and pioneers. We're glad you're here, so pull up a chair and let's begin.
Right. I thought I'd pick a light topic for a Sunday morning. And I've been looking into the idea of intent and motivation. And this is a massive topic, I have now realised. And I can't possibly cover the whole thing. So I'm kind of going to share my thoughts and some things that have led me to kind of want to talk about this. And usually I kind of do a talk and a bit of discussion and I have that format, but I think this morning I'm just going to get it all out and then give us some time at the end, hopefully, if I don't waffle on too long, to think about these things. So forgive me if it feels quite content heavy, and I hope you can follow my trail of thinking. And all I ask, if you just, you're here, you might as well come with an open mind and think about what it might trigger in you or what it might provoke in you that you may want to think about some more yourself. But it definitely opened a can of worms for me this week. Because I've been looking at what are the forces behind our actions and the choices we make. And I keep hearing the phrase, which is what made me come to this, but their intention was good. My intention wasn't to upset you. The way he expressed it may be misguided, but it comes from a good place. We find ourselves saying this a lot, don't we? We hear it a lot. And recently, someone close to me made some, what I would say were questionable choices. And I found myself asking, well, was that their intention, or has the words or action just landed badly? And what makes a good intention? What makes a good place? Who decides that? Who decides what is morally good or bad? And when I was looking into the terms and definitions of this, I found this, which I thought was good. Intention refers to the specific plan or goal a person has in mind when they take an action, while motive refers to the underlying reason or drive behind the action. Intentions are conscious, while motives can be both conscious and subconscious. So this then implies that intention is intentional. You had a plan, you had a goal in mind. Is that true? Do we always go at things with deliberate intention? And it's also brought up a lot when we're talking about New Year's resolutions and goals and strategies for business or whatever. You set your intention. What will your motivations be? And sometimes it's easier seeing it that way because that's all quite conscious. You're making a conscious sort of thing that you're setting and goal. But what if a lot of our agendas and intentions are actually going under the radar a bit? The quote also suggests that motives are the underlying reason or drive behind our actions, and the motive is what influences your intention. So I have to ask then, where does motive come from? How are our motivations formed? Are all intentions conscious, or as the statement suggests, can there be a subconscious motive playing out behind the scenes? Has our upbringing, childhood development, surroundings, friendship groups, experiences created in us a subconscious bias and a motive that is actually at the root of our intent? Now, I'm not actually saying that's a bad thing. Far from it. It just works as an explanation as to why we do the things we do and what creates the motivation behind our intentions. And what if our motivations are coming from an outside source, like the religion or politics? How does that operate when we are dealing with our own personal intentions and motivations? Does that mean we're making our own choices, or essentially allow ourselves to be led by something else? And if our motives are not driven by another source, then where are they coming from? Our basic human desires? Our carnal nature? Is that where desire comes into play? Desires are closely related to motives, as desire is often at the core of our humanity. Our needs and our desires tend to be what motivate us and become the intention. I hope you're all right with following this all right. So, the dictionary definition of desire, and I liked this, that's why I'm using it. Desire is a strong feeling, worthy or unworthy, that impels to the attainment or possession of something based on a sense of need. Well, now this is where it gets interesting. Worthy or unworthy. So that would suggest then that our desire can have a moral implication. Is what is at our core seen as worthy or unworthy? And if our needs play a part, do we then have to question what are our needs? Needs are what sustain us and can be necessary for our survival. At a basic level, survival instincts drive us to seek food, safety, and comfort. I need food, you need water, you need sleep. I liked this quote from Homer from 800 BC. A hungry stomach will not allow its owner to forget it, whatever his cares or sorrows. What is it that I think I need? What is driving my motives, my morality? Do I even know any of this? Or is it all just done automatically and subconsciously? As a child, did I find ways to get what I want or fulfill my needs that I now just do on autopilot? Were you given a list of rules and instructions that you just kind of run with now? Have my carnal needs evolved? Can anyone really be fully aware of this? Does it even matter? Do we need to be? And if we're going down the route of morality and what makes something worthy or unworthy, then do we have to ask where religion fits into this? Religions were created to answer the question, what do people do? Why do people do what they do? Were they introduced to bring order? Were religions introduced to bring order? Christianity, which has essentially shaped our current culture, so we'll go with that, said we need a saviour, as we have a sinful nature at our core. An original sin suggests we are all born immoral, so we need the moral compass of God to help us. Thoughts, desires, intent come from the sinful nature. Is that where we based our desires and motivations? What makes that trustworthy? Regardless of whether you believe in that or not, has that had an influence on Western society? And have we been influenced, whether consciously or not, that we can't trust ourselves? Are we inherently flawed? So therefore, can we fully trust one another? Essentially, we are motivated by a mix of biological needs, emotions, personal values, and external influences. Emotionally, we are motivated by desires for love, belonging, happiness, as well as fears of pain, rejection, or failure. Socially, we seek approval, status, and connection, often shaped by cultural expectations and personal experience. Ultimately, what drives us depends on a mix of nature, nurture, and our level of self-awareness. How can we really, though, ever know someone's motive? Brennan Manning, and for those of you who've not heard of him, he's a Catholic priest who tried to live out the Christian ethic, but he failed terribly. And in that failure, he had an encounter with the grace of God that included him, and he saw things in a new way. And he's since become an influential author and speaker, inspiring many people out of dogmatic belief. And in his book, The Wisdom of Tenderness, he says this about motive. None of us have ever seen a motive. Therefore, we don't know, we can't do anything more than suspect what inspires the action of another. For this good and valid reason, we're told not to judge. Tragedy is that our attention centres on what people are not, rather than on what they are and who they might become. You can't really know someone's motive, you can only assume. But I like this bit. The tragedy is we focus on what people are not, rather than what they are. We pass judgment. We base integrity or good based on how we measure others. And when we're measuring someone else's motives and intentions, does it differ based on who we like and who we dislike? Do my biases come into play? Do we want to believe it was meant in a good way because we don't want to see them in another light? If someone has upset us, do we want to believe they were bad because that supports our view of them, and maybe we don't want to face what that's actually brought up in us? When we have a strong reaction to someone or something, and what they've done or said, why? What was it that got under your skin? Rather than what they are. Are we better to take people at face value and their actions, rather than try and figure out the intention it was sent from? Truth is, you can only ever assume or suspect someone's motive. You can never really know. So how do we have trust on that basis? For example, with parents, we're made to love them because they're our parents. But if they wrong us and continue to be aware of that behaviour, despite their apologies, if you get any, should we still pretend they are good? Are we supposed to look past the behaviour and know that they're coming from a good place and they just love us? Is that okay? Are our parents' intentions good just because they're our parents? Is it about what we want from relationships and what we then create as a narrative to support our need? Do people act on purpose? Are we premeditated, deliberate, or do stuff by accident? Do we then say, well, their intention was good because we don't want to believe what certain actions prove? I didn't mean it like that. They didn't mean it like that. They meant well. In the instance that led me to this talk with a family member, originally I felt the intention wasn't harmful, but as the issues played out since, it's now looking like it was pretty intentional. And maybe there was a point lurking in the background that was wanting to be made. The intention maybe wasn't good. And what makes someone trustworthy? That can depend on what we believe about them and how we trust the experience and history. Christianity would say that we trust everybody based on them doing things right, following the rules, so to speak, which you can say has fed into society in general. But does not doing anything wrong mean that someone is trustworthy? If you're just not doing anything wrong, does that mean you're a trustworthy person? It may appear so on the surface level, but does trustworthiness go beyond simply avoiding certain actions? What about someone is trustworthy because we've got to know them in such an intrinsic way that we can trust and know how they were likely to behave and respond in a certain way? There's a transparency. For example, with my husband James, he's got my trust because has he got my trust? Because he plays by the rules and has done nothing wrong. Is that relationship? Or do I trust him because I've gotten to know him inside and out, and I can have a better understanding of his intentions and motives because I know more how he is as a person and how he is likely to be? I can trust him because I know him, all of him, what makes him tick, what winds him up, how he handles stress, how he carries pain, how he shows love. I can trust him to be that. It's not that he's getting it all right. I can just trust him to be who he is. So is it better then to know ourselves and be self-aware and also be willing to understand those we can by understanding how they are shaped as a person, and not just because I've been told this makes someone good and this makes someone bad? So are we all born wicked and in need of a saviour? Are we born with a clean slate and its behaviours influenced on our experiences that have shaped us? Do we develop biases? Do we believe we are virtuous because we believe we are doing good? Has our culture impacted how we see things? Do we want to believe people are good? Well, maybe they're just not. Does it matter? Are people good at their core? Do we have a list of motives that matter and ones that don't? Is the murderer any different from the liar or the gaslighter? Questions we may consider later on. We can look from this from a different angle too. In regards to good intentions versus actions, is the issue how something is delivered, or more, how it lands? The impact, how something lands. How often have you heard, you misunderstood me, I didn't mean it in that way? Those words can seem harmless, but is it really saying that it's actually our issue? You were mistaken about their intention as they meant well. Does that mean you put their intent before your own feelings? Or did your feelings actually expose something more in you? Should you focus more on what they meant to say rather than how their words impacted you? Even the best intentions only matter when they have the impact that matches those intentions. And understanding the difference between intent and impact can make a world of difference in managing relationships and connections. As we've already discussed, you can never really know someone's intention, but what you can be sure of is how it lands, how we read it, how we interpret it, how it makes us feel, how we have reacted to it. Am I better concentrating on my own character than focus on the whys and wherefores of someone else's intention? You can never really find peace by simply focusing on the positive, putting a happy spin on it. Sure, you can get some short-term relief by avoiding the uncomfortable, but what about next time it happens? To help have healthy relationships, we need to bridge the gap with well-intended actions and the impact they have on you. What's all this telling you? Is this where tolerance comes in? If we're so tolerant of what others are saying and doing to us and mask it with believing it's well-intentioned, well, when it's actually made an impact on you, are we at risk of tolerating bad behaviours? Is that how toxic relationships continue? Or being over-forgiving and keeping a false sense of peace? And on the flip side, are we so intolerant and unable to accept different ideas and beliefs or opinions that we can only react from our own feelings and not ask if there's a deeper issue in ourselves that needs to be challenged? We project the problem as the other person's issue and withdraw or attack with our own malicious intent, hidden as good. Why do we avoid the negative? I mean, I kind of know why we do. It's obvious, really. It's not nice, is it? Do we think by not facing it, though, the negative, somehow we live in peace and get along? Is that trustworthy? I follow the rules, therefore I'm doing okay. If it's God's will, then so be it. We don't want to rock the boat and we don't want to challenge. We just want an easy life. And I get that. I want an easy life. But is that easy? Is that easy? The danger here is that in focusing in on someone's intent at the cost of your own emotions, is that it can lead you into a form of self-gaslighting. You're gaslighting your own experience, telling yourself that the words or actions that brought up an emotional reaction in you weren't that important. Oh, they didn't mean it. You're telling yourself that what you felt was not as important as the other person's intention. When someone pushes your buttons, can we use them as a mirror to show you what's going on inside? How it lands is not about the person who sends it, but about the person who receives it. Has it landed on a wound? Has it triggered you because something within your needs and motivations has been challenged? Has it hit a nerve? Why? If we get offended, triggered, hurt, is that because of how the person intended it? Or is it because it's shining a light on a truth that I need to see? If it impacts you, you have to ask why it has. If there's a truth to learn, then let it help you grow. And if there isn't, and they're just not being very nice or whatever, then just let it go. And go, well, that's your thing, fine. I don't have to absorb that. We have to ask ourselves what's lurking in our shadows. Have we got blind spots that come to light? We often meet our shadow in the projection from others. What they project on you can show you your shadow. Self-awareness is so key for me with all of this. Learning to understand who you are, what makes you you, what triggers you, what creates a reaction in you, what drives you to do what you do, what needs motivate you to your intentions and actions, why did it land that way, what's the condition of my soil, where can I improve, do I need to pause and see where my default has kicked in? And I know you've probably heard me bark on about this a million times, but the Enneagram is amazing. And I think maybe we need to revisit it one time, because I know some of you have heard of it, some of you haven't. And I've personally found it really, really helpful for me to help identify how I might respond and what my default can be. It's been really, really good for that. And it's essentially, for those who don't know, a personality system that identifies personality types, each with their own core motives, fears, and behaviours. For me, it's become an essential tool to help me understand how I operate. And the shadows of the Enneagram types represent the unconscious fears, insecurities, and destructive patterns that hold each of us back. It exposes our motivations, and recognizing these shadows is the first step towards growth, allowing us to move from unconscious patterns into true self-awareness. So I've actually put some up on here. I'm going to go through them. Not too... Oh, look, I missed that. Does any of this kind of ring any bells for you? Have a think about it. Do you struggle with harsh self-criticism and rigid perfectionism? Do you react with anger or project it onto others in response to the injustices you feel? Maybe you feel like you need praise or affirmation. Do you see your intentions as good in your need to help people and give? Or do you need to feel needed? Can you overcompensate yourself to meet others' needs? How about when you lack a feeling of security? Do you plaster on a smile to mask your true feelings? Adopt multiple personas to cope with each situation and convince yourself everything is going well? Does image and success matter to you? Do you find yourself making comparisons? Have an inner critic that says you're not special enough, so you go to great lengths to make yourself unique? Can you sink into self-pity and envy? Can you withdraw when things feel too much and rationalize that you can live without relationships? Maybe you're someone who's trapped in anxiety and doubt. You can be quite cynical and always feel suspicious of others. Do you avoid the hard conversations, rationalize problems instead of facing them, avoid the challenging work, escape reality through constant stimulation? Maybe you've got a hard time listening. I'll show you how wrong you are. Is your way the right way? Do you find yourself being passive-aggressive, in response to something that's got under your skin? Do you keep it in your shadow and have a strong desire for a false peace? We all need to get along because we want to avoid the conflict and not talk about it. These are the things that lurk in our shadows, in our lower self, our inner desires, insecurities, and needs. If any of those you thought, that does sound like me, this is the Enneagram stuff. So if you look into this, what it does is teaches you antidotes to this stuff and how you can be a healthier version of yourself. And how in recognizing this stuff, it's not a bad thing. It's actually showing you your humanity. Once you go, okay, then when something comes at you or impacts you, you can question that. And you can go, actually, maybe this is actually how I'm feeling, so maybe I don't have to react that way, or I can think of a different way to respond. You can pause, reflect, take a minute. Say, am I withdrawing because actually that's, I'm feeling a bit too much pressured, a bit too, things are a bit much. If you're constantly arranging things and overstimulating yourself, is that because you're trying to avoid something? And it's not saying, oh God, that's all bad. This is actually good. It's kind of helping you, shape you, and understand how you can then maybe make some changes to be a healthier version of yourself. They show up in our interactions, our connections, and our relationships. And they definitely shine a light on what is motivating us. It's honest and true to see things this way. It's not bad. Living this life of making sure we're making all the right moves is exhausting. It's good to know your whole, know yourself, and maybe then you can feel a sense of peace. Self-awareness and consciousness are deeply connected, shaping how we understand ourselves and interact with the world. Understanding is power. If you know how you operate, then you can pause and make clearer intended actions. It builds relationships instead of breaks them. So, in conclusion then, what does all this mean? We each have to navigate others. We have to wonder what they had in mind in terms of their words and actions, and navigate their ways and how they intersect with ours, how they land and impact us. Do I need to grow or let go? And when we combine self-awareness with conscious effort, we're better equipped to break free from our own automatic patterns and make more authentic, meaningful choices in our lives. And if we go wider, the tension between ethical ideals and self-interest continues to shape the world around us, influencing movements and shaping laws. We all watch the news and try to figure out what motivates some people in the world. How did things get so bad? Cancel culture, censorship, fear of saying the wrong thing, humans killing other humans in the name of politics, religion, or simply madness. Faith and many religious approaches have been an attempt to answer this question of morality and self-motivation. And there are many worthy attempts that happen day to day as we try to understand the human condition. Perhaps one day there will be answers that we can all understand, but most likely there are still some questions for us to navigate in the world, often in our day-to-day. So it may be worthwhile for us to consider some thoughts for the remainder of our time this morning. And I've got some questions for you to consider and chat around your table. Take some of the thoughts that I've shared this morning, decide what you feel about that. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Why do you disagree? Why do you agree? If you don't care, why don't you care? Have a conversation, see what the people around you think. And so I've got some points if you want to have something to base it on. So this is an easy one. Does religion create morality, or does morality exist on its own? Do good intentions matter more than actions? What benefit is there in using life as a mirror to consider how we might respond in the world? Can you see your patterns? Do you have any examples you can share on your table of effective ways to handle conflict and challenge? And we've got Well, we've got half an hour for you to do that, and we'll wrap up. Thank you.